Welcome to the No Limit Selling Podcast, where industry leaders share their advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. Today we've got Jake Tacher here with us today. He's an expert in sales, and we're going to dive in deep because it is September when we're recording this, just after Labor Day. There's only 5 months left till the end of the year, and holy crap, Jake, help us get to the other side with the numbers we want.
Well, the best way to do that is stop thinking about the other side, start thinking about where you're at right now. So that's number one.
So the nemesis of most salespeople is getting enough appointments with the people that can hire you. So why don't we spend a little bit of time there? What do you think stops? Would you agree that's like the governor that stops a lot of salespeople from reaching their potential is not getting enough people at the top of the funnel that have budget, have a need, and can make a decision to hit the go button?
Some of them. I know a lot of salespeople that have plenty of lead volume and call quality volume on MQLs or SQLs or leads or whatever. And blame the leads or the quality or the circumstances or that, it's the summer slump and then it's, the holidays and New Year around the corner and no one wants to do anything until they have new budgets. And then, so maybe volume is the nemesis, but it's...
But mindset, what do you describe as mindset? That's the ultimate thing that drives everything. 100%. But let's go into the mechanics at the front of it. What's a good strategy to... let's say find your target audience, and then we'll talk about how you get that first conversation with them. So how do you recommend that people identify their target and go find their target?
Well, identifying your target audience comes down to, I think, understanding. It comes down to a decision. Your target audience, you choose. And It's interactive, right? You put something out there, you garner feedback, and you figure out, is that what I'm trying to do, like what I'm hearing from them? And then you also hear is what I'm articulating to them getting mirrored back to me in a way that says, this is my target audience, because they're excited about what I have. And so you have to kind of do that dance, I think. And then once you've decided or identified your target audience, it just comes down to knowing where they hang out, where are the watering holes, where's the water cooler for all the whoever people, and how are they talking? How are they engaging each other? What are they talking about? But I think truly it's not hard. People just have a harder time facing it.
Okay, so let's, so right now I'm looking on my window. I can see the building for Salesforce just in that direction right over there. So let's pick VPs of sales of, let's say, tech companies. So how do we figure out where they hang out?
I would go check out content written for VP of sales at tech companies and the people writing the content regularly. What socials are they sharing? Where are they most active? Where are they getting most of their engagement? The people that draw in the people you want to talk to, where's their biggest microphone? Where's their biggest platform? And that is the place that they hang out.
All right. The problem with what you just said, Jake, is it's freaking common sense. And it's so common that we miss it completely and we overcomplicate the process. So that sounds like where's the watering hole and who has the biggest microphone? Just listeners, write that down, because more than often we try to make things more complicated than they are. And I wonder if that's more to do with shying away from actually doing the activity, which is having those conversations, that we're busy doing work and not doing work that really counts.
Yeah. So I think that especially as an individual contributor or a sales rep, there are only so many factors inside of our control. And that, I think, to a lot of sales reps feels like a safety net, either at a subconscious or conscious level, but typically at a subconscious level, to where they know I'm being evaluated completely on performance. Obviously, hopefully also someone like culture and do you bring the level up of other people and that kind of thing. But predominantly, I'm being evaluated on my performance, which means these things that are either outside of my control or complicated, I can hide behind. If it is simple, even if that's hiding from myself, if it is simple and it's not being executed well, there is something to address. And I'll tell you what, as I transitioned my career into entrepreneurship, I started playing what my brain perceived as a much longer game. So needing to make adjustments more often and needing to improve and level up every year or two became a more accepted path than I'm going to get to a place where I can finally plateau and hang out. And when it comes to any type of cold outbound to fill your own pipeline and any sort of SDR work, like if you don't know how to find the watering holes and get people from the watering holes, you better figure that out. Or your life's always going to be hard. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't really had to be an SDR or do any sort of sales work like that, it'll make you better and you'll be able to figure it out. It's just going to be hard. It might take you a while. You might have to buy a course or get some coaching or humble yourself to the SDR at your company. I think that was my advantage as a sales rep in my first role is I was willing to learn from anybody, even the guy who was like 20% of quota every month. If I could hear, and I was on a sales floor, I was lucky, but if I could hear him say something that I was like, yeah, I was learning from it.
Win for everybody.
Absolutely. So, but I think it's the mirror. Most people have a hard time really looking in the mirror because of who they think they're supposed to be at whatever point in their career based on how much money they make or whatever their OTE is.
So being a leader in the space, whether you got a leadership title or not, is very much about mindset. And before we kind of delve into that, let's hear from our sponsor.
If you're ready to let go of anxiety, let go of uncertainty, let go of doubt, Mindset Boosters gives you the ability to decide how you act and feel in any situation. Ready to take charge of your mindset? Go to mindsetboosters.com.
So, Jake, one of the hallmarks of great leaders is they are always learning and always looking to tweak something or learn something, and they'll learn from anyone. So how do we start fostering that mindset for people that don't have it? Because that's the pathway to be successful faster.
So if we're talking about how do we foster an environment where people are excited to learn, excited to grow, excited to stretch themselves, I think as leaders, the best way to initially foster that environment is to intimately get to know the people you are leading and to know where they are and where they actually want to go, not where you think they should go, or not where it even benefits you most for them to go. But if you actually want to foster and develop leadership and growth and expansiveness amongst your team whom you are leading, then you have to know what is the fire and the passion inside them that lights them up so that you can help them build something that they actually feel it truly is what they should be building. B, they can trust you because they can feel that you are not projecting your agenda into it. So they will trust you in your development of their leadership. And C is the nucleus of the thing that fuels their being. And so they're going to do it in, maybe they're scared or maybe they're lazy or maybe whatever. But those are easy to deal with once you're at the core. If you're doing it from any other source, forget about it. Like maybe you get a good year or two where someone's like on for the cause, but that's not really going to get you anywhere long-term. And so I think with my team, I want to know exactly hey, do you want a more cutthroat environment? Do you like that high level performance? Do you like coaching more? And so I've got a guy right now who's a great AE, but I can tell he doesn't really care so much for it, but he's one of the very unique salespeople that's very good at communicating in a way where he'll be a phenomenal coach, trainer, and junior consultant for us. And so I'm putting him over there. I'll find an AE because he's he's the person I want, one of the people I want in our nucleus for forever, hopefully, as long as I can have him, obviously. But If that's what pumps him up and I've got one of those, awesome. Now, where it becomes complicated is where things don't match up. And I find that the leaders get so weird dealing with people. And when they get weird dealing with people are going to be weird in response. Like the leadership sets the cue. And so, I think it really comes down to being able to intimately know your people's goals, desires, heart, where your company and the role that you're providing for them falls into that, and then supporting that. If that can be non-personal, upfront, direct, and something that can help each other out, it's good. And if it can't, then you just end it. Like it doesn't have to, or whatever makes the most sense, or move into a different role. Like you have the conversation. You don't play this guessing game of like, is it kind of an unspoken thing to where I should be, but isn't, yada, yada. No one ever feels good about that. That's a suffocating dynamic that will not foster expansiveness.
Right.
It will foster constriction. And so I think that's a really important place to start. You just open everything up if the communication channels are clear.
So everything you said there holds true with clients as well. When you know what drives them, what motivates them, what are the problems they want to solve, how do they like to be sold to? And so that's really good skills in teaching modeling the behavior to your sales team on what they should be doing with their clients, because that's what builds those lasting relationships. So when that buyer moves to another company, they bring you with them because there's that level of trust. I know Jake's gonna, make this happen. I can trust him to do this. So talk to me about the first 15 seconds of a call when you're training your people and they're calling that first outreach to a client. That first 15 seconds, probably less, is the make it or break it, is where you can at least have the opportunity to have that minute to have that conversation that might lead to something interesting.
Yeah, you're talking about like a cold call?
Yeah.
So I really like a consent-based intro, but really what I believe is there are probably 4, 5, 6, 7 intros that can work at a high enough percentage. Everyone's just looking for a magic bullet and they don't practice. And here's even the worst thing. They practice, but they have no idea what they're aiming for in practice. Go find any professional, anything that does that. Go find any professional musician, any professional athlete.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
Practices to get better at the thing, but they're not exactly sure what needs to be improved or what they're aiming for. We see people like this at the gym all the time. They're starting to get more reps and more confidence. And I mean, you can see like their knees are gone in like 3 years or whatever. And so like you have to be good at practicing, and being good at practicing means you have a routine and a regimen inside of how you practice that actually helps put in your sales DNA and execution that provides a better outcome. So you have to know what you're trying to sound like, and then you need a process that slowly gets you there. So yeah, I'll give you my intro, by the way. I'm not hiding it, but I think it's more important to say, stick to the intro, get good at it, know what good at it looks like or sounds like, and get yourself there, and then decide if it works or not before you hop to another one, or you'll never get
Agreed.
a good percentage. So, but I like consent-based intros and then pain-based hooks for the most part. And so I love the, hey, my name's Jake. I'm calling you completely out of the blue here. I know, actually, let me do it in the tone that I actually like, because I have practiced it. Hey, coach. Hey, coach, this is Jake. I'm calling from Automated Revenue. Hey, I'm actually calling you completely out of the blue here. We've never spoken before or anything like that, but it'll just take me a quick 30 seconds to tell you why I called, and then you can let me know if we should even talk after that. Is that fair?
Sounds fair to me, Jake.
So I like that, and I like to do, if I can find a space to go and and like bring in a little bit of casual tone there, or they're gonna think you're an automated recording or whatever. But I'll tell you what, my cold calling reps average about 65 to 80% of people saying yes to that intro on cold calls. 65 to 85%. The average is usually right around 65, 70. Top reps will do 85, 55, and we're working on it. And then if they say yes, I'm going to say great. I'm really going to try and keep it to about 45 seconds. That's about as much you can get away with if you say 30. And I'm going to really, this is like, we're spear, but we're net.
Right.
right? Like if for most cold calling situations, you're kind of spear, but you're really net because you're making 100 to 120 dollars a day, 150 dollars a day, 80 dollars a day, whatever it is, right? And so, unless you're really researching every client, still, like, I think you need to have your top one or two things that are going to resonate. Hey, and make it story based. Hey, so, my name's blah, 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 we're from blah, blah. We help people with this, and typically they'll invite us in because they're having one of these issues. Issue number one, and then I just describe a really normal case, and then what they do is they work with us, and we implement some things that they'd never heard of before, so that doesn't happen. Or the second issue is, and then when I get to my final sentence, instead of going, hey, which one of those resonates more with you, which is what I used to do, I now say, hey, does insert this pain or insert this pain have more relevance for you right now? And that way, if they tuned you out at any point in time, you give them a little cheat sheet to still say actually that does engage. Because here's the thing: is I know I'm cold calling these people, and they might tune me out a little bit. I think that whole 30-second commercial or hook or whatever you call it, like your job as an SDR or full cycle AE or whatever you're doing on the cold call is to be engaging. Just get them to listen to what you say. And hopefully if the thing you have is good, you're going to get enough people. So anyhow, that's how I script most of my.
It's simple and it's repeatable. And one of the things I like to do is to get the rep to call one of their friends, invite them out to the movies, record that, and then record one of their calls.
I love that.
And they can hear the change in tonality. And it's like, I had no idea I was doing that.
That is so good. I usually say hey, how would you say it? If your buddy asked you what you do for work and you kind of want to give him the short version, but you were still a little excited about it, what would that sound like? But you're basically, yeah, that's really good. I like that a lot. I might steal that.
So yeah, please do. That's because it's an ongoing process of moving forward. So you've got that first conversation started, and then you go to actually lock down the meeting. Say, okay, I am interested. And if they can't do it now, you lock down the meeting. And how do you lock down the meeting in terms of, making sure that they're going to be there without being like a lot of times I hear people with scripts that it sounds like very kind of forced kind of, this is the script I'm reading to make sure you're going to be there. So how do you handle that in a natural way that the person wants to be there?
So I think I think by the end.
Is that a mic drop?
Mic drop. Mic fell. So yeah, a lot of people get just super weird at the end of the call, or even in the middle of the call, or in the calls in general. My number one rule of sales is don't be weird about it. And I went to art school for music, and when I was in advanced music theory, the number one rule is if it sounds good, if you like how it sounds, cool, besides all these rules. And that's how I feel about sales. If there's a natural dynamic to how you're conversating with the other person, that's okay. That's good. Live there, and we can coach from that place. But so one, people just get weird at the end. Two, I try and just make sure that they understand what this is about. Hey, in this conversation, we're not talking about feature or product or whatever. That thing that we've been talking about for 4.5 minutes that matters to you, we know how to make that thing go away. Are you sure that's important? Yeah, I'm sure that's important. Okay, cool. And I'm not saying you got to sign any dotted line, but are you opposed to just taking a deeper look into it, and we could see if it actually would fit what you guys have going on? Because what we do is we solve this problem, so it could help. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, killer. Let's get it on the calendar. We get it on the calendar. I like to hit them with a little bit of what I learned from a sales consultant at some company I was at doing fractional work. It's called the post sell. And so I think at this point, when they're on the calendar, you want them to like you and respect you. If you go for those two things, you got a good show rate percentage chance. And so what I'll do is, cool, awesome. And just making sure that's in pen, not pencil. Yep. Okay, perfect. And let's just say, I don't know, Godzilla comes through town and knocks down all the internet poles. Do they even have internet poles? I'm not sure. I really don't even, I forget how we're transmitting these wireless beams here. I think it's mostly fiber under the ground. But like, what do we do then? What's the best way to? And so I like that for a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
It's funny. It sets a ridiculous precedent for what would have somebody cancel. And how do you want me to track you down?
Brilliant. I like that.
I think it's good. It's playful. And then, and the thing is afterwards, if you get any sort of hesitancy when asking, hey, is this in pen, not pencil? Or, hey, what happens when Godzilla comes knocking through your town? You address it right then and there. Oh, sounds like this time maybe isn't rock solid for you. I think naming things as they can come up and addressing things as they come up will garner a ton of respect in a world where, salespeople are doing what salespeople do.
If I can interject right here, it was the tonality that you used was a concerned, questioning kind of phraseology, which is non-threatening. Like, hey, wait a minute, you said this was serious. Sounds like a hesitating is like being a dick. But if it's like, oh, it sounded like, and it's like a concern that also goes a long way. And a tip for our listeners is once you've got the appointment locked down on the calendar, then and only then do you ask, should anybody else be at this meeting?
Totally.
Because if you ask that question first, then it's like, oh, I got to check with their schedule. I'll get back to you. And it just goes down the drain.
100%. Yeah. So, general rule of thumb I have is, to your point with the tonality, collaborative, not combative.
Yes.
And the exact same words will come out of your mouth in the exact same order and be way different. And so if you're going if you're really trying to work with them, not against them, if it's not you versus them, if it's not like singles tennis, but you hop over the net and start playing doubles, which by the way, is my paradigm for objection handling. It's like you're working on the objections together. You need to be invited onto their team and then work with them. But if you're always engaging sales with that paradigm, like even like if you're going like, should I be more consultative or more challenger or more whatever, they all fit inside of the paradigm of we are on the same team. If you're challenging your teammate versus challenging, it's going to be talking trash versus like, supporting somebody. And so I think that's the paradigm. My tonality is like coming through that whole lens.
Brilliant. So Jake, before we part company, there's two questions. One is, tell us about what you guys do and how you help companies grow.
Yeah. So what we do, and we're shifting a little bit of what we do, but what we do is we train people who want to become SDRs or who are SDRs, and most of them already are in some capacity, improve their phone skills. A lot of startup companies out there with maybe a VP of sales who's really more like an account executive right now and hasn't been an SDR in a while or ever been an SDR manager, and new SDRs are coming on, and SDRs, you need a lot of coaching.
Yes.
We basically decided to massively undercut the market because 5% of OTE is ridiculous in my mind, basically, or, you don't need 10 grand to do one of these things. And so we train those people. We also are coming out with it's called SDR Whisperer. We're coming out with a new course called Closer Whisperer for AEs and closers, which is going to be a really, really deep dive into all aspects of the sale. My paradigm for a discovery, which is really important. It's all about naming. Paradigm for objection handling, which is about isolating the objection and the belief level, both. You need to isolate where they're at objection-wise and in their belief ladder. And then you got to isolate it on the way down and you isolate on the way up, right? Or you're going to try and take a big jump up the same way you don't want to take a big assumption towards the objection. So it's going to be pretty intricate. That's going to be launched in about a month. And then we have a business where we place these people. We have like a recruiting agency where we place these people. And we have a community we're starting to create for the businesses that are doing the recruiting for us. I also do some consulting and fractional work. So right now I'm fractionally working with, I'm the sales director at 1, 2, 3, 4 companies and consulting at 1 or 2 others. But that's slowly kind of like whittling down. I think that's going to be like 3
nice
long-term as we do more I love coaching and training. It's one of my favorite things to do. So
brilliant. Last question. What's something that I should have asked you that would add value to our listeners that I did not?
I mean, we've talked about a lot of things that I think are in the way for people. I mean, I really think the main things that are in the way for the sales reps, if they really, really actually want to get better, is what it takes again, every performance-based space, which is knowing how to practice well and practicing the right things. If you know how to practice well because you've already gotten yourself to a certain level, you're probably just not doing it anymore. And so you get, we're in kind of like an age where it's like an obsession with more information and new paradigms, and that's good. And get those. But if you're not also learning how to integrate these things into your actual performance, it kind of effing doesn't matter. And you see this in every other dynamic in the world, right? You see this in, I was raised very religious and spiritual. You see this in spirituality where it's an information grab, or we're just in the information age. It's just super common. Entrepreneurship, very common. I'm starting to see oh my gosh, just with what I know from a couple of years, if I just apply my stuff and do what I know I'm supposed to do, I'm ahead of so many people, and I don't even know anything. I'm an infant. And so I think that's the most important thing to be beat into sales reps' heads is look at the thing, practice and understand the thing, integrate the thing, and you will get better.
So I have these defining moments in my life. And one of the defining moments was listening to this broadcast. It was one of the jazz greats. I'm not a jazz guy, so I don't remember the guy's name. But a guy was interviewing him, and he says, so do you need to practice anymore? And this guy who's 95 million years old says, son, rehearsing for 4 hours a day is the best part of my day. And he'd been doing it for decades. So even masters at the top of their game never give up practicing, because that's how you get freaking great. Jake, thanks so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation. And I'm going to do an outro, and then let's chat after we end the broadcast.
Killer.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.